Welcome back everyone. Today we are going to start chapter 4 materials, metals and non-metals. You are familiar with a number of materials like iron, aluminium, copper, etc. Some materials have been given in table 4.1. So you can see the materials iron, coal, sulfur, aluminium, copper and their appearance and hardness. So can you name the material which are metals? The rest of the materials in the table 4.1 are non-metals. Metals can be distinguished from non-metals on the basis of their physical and chemical properties. So metals are distinguished from the non-metals by the material, physical and chemical properties. So recall that luster and hardness are physical property. So 4.1 physical properties of metal and non-metals. Have you ever seen a blacksmith beating an iron piece or an article made up of iron like a spade, a shovel or an axe? Do you find a change in the shape of these articles on bending? Would you expect a similar change if you try to beat a piece of coal? No, you will not find the same change. Let us find out. Activity 4.1. Take a piece of iron nail, a coal piece, a piece of thick aluminium wire and a pencil lead. Beat the iron nail with the hammer. In figure 4.1 you can see, but take care that you don't hurt yourself in the process. Try to hit hard. Now you can see 4.1 figure beating an iron nail with an hammer. The aluminium wire also. Then repeat the same kind of treatment on the coal piece and pencil on the lead. Record your observation on table 4.2. So you can see you are hitting the iron nail, coal piece, aluminium wire and pencil lead, and you can malleability of material can be checked by change in the shape, flatten, break into pieces. So you can write that. So you saw that the shape of the iron nail and the aluminium wire changed on beating. If they were beaten harder, then these could have changed into sheets. You might be familiar with silver foil used for decorating sweets. You must also have been familiar with the aluminium foil used for wrapping foods. The property of metal by which they can be beaten into thin sheets is called malleability. So when you beat the metal and they turn into a thin sheet, it is called the malleability of the metal. This is a characteristic property of metals. As you must have noticed, materials like coal and pencil lead do not show this property. Can we call this metals? No. Can you hold a hot metallic pan which is without a plastic or wooden handle and not get hurt? Perhaps not. Why? Try to list some other experiences in which wooden or plastic handle protects you from being hurt while handling hot things. On the basis of these experiences, what can you say about the conduction of heat by wood and plastic? So you must have seen an electrician using the screwdriver. What kind of handle does it have and why? Let us find out. Activity 4.2. Recall how to make an electric circuit to test whether electricity can pass through an object or not. In figure 4.2 you can see you might have performed. So you can see here is the iron nail, here is a cell and here is the light. So it is connected. So electric tester. So you can see here the activity with various objects in class 6. Now repeat the activity with the material mentioned in the table 4.3. Observe and group these materials into good conductors and poor conductors. So you can see iron nail, so it's a good conductor. Sulfur, coal piece, copper wire is also good conductor. So you can write that. You observe that iron nail, iron rod, nail and copper wire are good conductor, while rolled sulfur piece and coal piece are poor conductors. So Paheli says, oh, the meaning of recalling our experiences and then of this activity was to show that metals are good conductor of heat and electricity. We learned this in class 6th. Where do you find the use of aluminium and copper wires? Have you seen wires of coal? Definitely not. The property of metal by which it can be drawn into wires is called ductility. Have you ever noticed in the difference in sound of dropping an iron sheet plate, a metal coin and a piece of coal on the floor? If not, you can try it now. So do you note any difference in the sound produced? So there is a difference. Have you ever seen wooden bells in temple? Can you give a reason? The things made of metals produce a ringing sound when struck hard. Suppose you have two boxes similar in appearance, one made of wood and the other of metal. Can you tell which box is made of metal by striking both the metals boxes? So you can say that since metal produce ringing sound, they are said to be sonorous. And the material other than the metal are not sonorous. So it is called sonorous After performing the above activities, we can say that some materials are hard, lustrous, malleable, ductile, sonorous, and good conductors of heat and electricity. The material which generally possess this property are called metals. So these property are indicates that the material is metal. The example of metals are iron, copper, aluminum, calcium, magnesium, etc. In contrast, materials like coal and sulfur are soft and dull in appearance. They break down into a powdery mass on tapping with the hammer. They are not sonorous and are poor conductors of heat and electricity. The materials are called non-metals. The example of non-metal are sulfur, carbon, oxygen, phosphorus, etc. Metals like sodium and potassium are soft and can be cut with a knife. Mercury is the only metal which is found in solid state at room temperature. These are exceptions. So these are the exceptions. 4.2 Chemical properties of metal and non-metal. Reaction with oxygen. You are familiar with the phenomenon of rusting of iron. Recall the reaction by which rust is formed. You have seen that in class 7. An activity of burning a magnesium ribbon in air. You have learned that in both the process oxide formation takes place. Complete the following reaction of iron and magnesium with oxygen. So you can see, complete that. Activity 4.3. Let us check the nature of rust formed as a result of reaction between iron, oxygen and water. Collect a spoonful of rust and dissolve it in a very little amount of water. You will find that the rust remains suspended in water. Shake the suspension well. They test the solution with red and blue litmus paper. What do you observe? Is the solution acid or basic? So you can see here is the rust suspension. Here is a litmus paper and testing of the nature of rust. You can see that. So does copper also get rusted? I have seen a greenish deposit on the surface of copper vessel. So when the copper vessel is exposed to moist air for long, it acquires a dull green coating. So you must have seen the green material is a mixture of copper hydroxide CuHO2, CuOH2 and copper carbonate CuCO3. The following is the reaction Cu2Cu plus H2O plus CO2 plus oxygen will give CuOH2 plus CuCO3. Now recall the activity of burning magnesium ribbon. The ash obtained on burning magnesium ribbon is dissolved in water and tested for its acid and basic nature. Is the solution acidic or basic? How do you ascertain this? You must have observed that the red litmus paper turns blue. So the oxide of magnesium is also basic in nature. So red turns into blue. That means that it is basic in nature. In general, metallic oxides are basic in nature. So you should remember that. Let us now observe the reaction of non-metal with oxygen. So activity 4.4 to be demonstrated by the teacher in the class. Take a small amount of powdered sulfur in a deflagrated spoon and heat it. If deflagrating spoon is not available, you may take a metallic cap of any bottle and wrap a metallic wire around it and give it the shape as shown in figure 4.4a. So you can see in 4.4a, you can give it like that. Improvised deflagrated spoon, you can see this. Then as soon as the sulfur starts burning, introduce the spoon into a gas jar, glass tumbler, as in figure 4.4a, you can see here. Cover the tumbler with a lid to ensure that the gas produced does not escape. So you should cover it. Remove the spoon after some time. Add a small quantity of water into the tumbler and quickly replace the lid. Shake the tumbler well. Check the solution with red and blue litmus paper. So you can see here, A, burning of sulfur powder, and B is testing of solution with litmus paper. So you can see they are testing it. So metals and non-metals in acid and basic and acids and bases. So you can see name of base metal and name of acid non-metal is given here. The name of the product formed in the reaction of sulfur and oxygen is sulfur dioxide gas. When sulfur dioxide is dissolved in water, sulfurous acid is formed. The reaction can be given as follows. Sulfur dioxide SO2 plus water H2O gives sulfurous acid H2SO3. The sulfurous acid turns blue, litmus paper red. Generally, oxides are non-metals are non-metals are acidic in nature. So you should remember that oxides of non-metals are acidic in nature. Recall the name of some of the laboratory acids and bases you have read in class 7. Note down their name in table 4.4. Identify the metal and non-metal present in them, which forms oxides with oxygen. So reaction with water. Let us see how metals and non-metals react with water. So sodium is a very reactive. It reacts vigorously with oxygen and water. A lot of heat is generated in the reaction. It is therefore stored in kerosene. So sodium is very dangerous, so you should handle it carefully. Activity 4.5, to be demonstrated by the teacher. During demonstration, special care should be taken that the size of the sodium metal piece is roughly the size of a wheat grain. It should be held with a pair of tongs. So you can see here, take a 250 ml beaker, glass tumbler, fill it with water, half with water. Now carefully cut a small piece of sodium metal. Dry it using filter paper and wrap it in a small piece of cotton. Put the sodium piece wrapped in cotton into the beaker. Observe carefully. During observation, keep away from the beaker. When reaction stops, touch the beaker. What do you feel? Has the beaker become hot? Test the solution with red and blue litmus paper. Is the solution acidic or basic? So you can see reaction of sodium with water. You observe that sodium reacts vigorously with water. Some other metals do not do so. For example, iron reacts with water slowly. Generally, non-metals do not react with water, though they may be very reactive in air. Such non-metals are stored in water. For example, phosphorus is very reactive non-metal. It catches fire, is exposed to air. To prevent the contact of phosphorus with atmospheric oxygen, it is stored in water. Reaction with acid. Let us see how metals and non-metals behave with acid. So activity 4.6, warning, keep the mouth of the test tube away from your face. Use test tube holder to hold the test tube. So take samples of metals and non-metals listed in table 4.5 in separate test tubes and label them as ABCDEF. With the help of a dropper, add 5 ml of dilute hydrochloric acid to each test tube one by one. Observe the reactions carefully. If no reaction occur in the cold solution, warm the test tube gently. Bring a burning matchstick near the mouth of each test tube. Repeat the same activity using dilute sulfuric acid instead of dilute hydrochloric acid. Record your observation in table 4.5. So you can see metal, non-metal, test tube names, reaction with dilute hydrochloric acid, room temperature, warm, then reaction with dilute sulfuric acid at room temperature and at warm. So you can see there are metals and non-metals. Is there any difference in the way metals and non-metals react with acid? What could be the pop sound in some of the cases? Be due to when a burning matchstick is brought near the mouth of the test tube. You must have found that non-metals generally do not react with acid, but metals react with acid and produces hydrogen gas, and that burns with a pop sound. You must have noticed that copper does not react with dilute hydrochloric acid even on heating, but it reacts with the sulfuric acid. So reactions of bases. You can see activity 4.7 to be demonstrated by teacher. During the preparation of sodium hydroxide solution, care should be taken. The pellets of sodium hydroxide are handled with a plastic spatula. So you can see prepare a fresh solution of sodium hydroxide in a test tube by dissolving 3 to 4 pellet of it in a 5 ml of water. Drop a piece of aluminum foil into it. Bring a burning matchstick near the mouth of the test tube. Observe carefully. What does the pop sound indicate? As before, the pop sound indicates the presence of hydrogen gas. Metal reacts with sodium hydroxide to produce hydrogen gas. So metal reacts with the sodium hydroxide to produce the hydrogen gas. Reaction of non-metals with bases are complex. Displacement reaction. Recall the activity of the reaction between copper sulfate and iron that you performed in class 7th. Let us observe some more reaction of that kind. Activity 4.8, take 500 ml beaker and label them as ABCDE. Then take about 550 ml of water in each beaker. Dissolve in each beaker a teaspoonful of a substance as indicated in the figure 4.6a. Keep the beaker undisturbed for some time. Record the observation in your notebook. So you can see ZnSO4 and FeSO4, and the others have no change. So beaker A had copper sulfate CuSO4 plus zinc granule Zn. Beaker B had copper sulfate CuSO4 and iron Fe, and beaker C had zinc sulfate ZnSO4 plus copper turnings Cu, and beaker D had iron sulfate FeSO4 plus copper turnings Cu, and beaker E had zinc sulfate ZnSO4 plus iron Fe. So here is the displacement reaction in A and B. So what change do you observe in the various beaker? You have read that one metal displaces another metal from its compound in aqueous solution. So in aqueous solution, one metal replaces it with another metal. In beaker A, zinc Zn replaces copper Cu from copper sulfate CuSO4. That is why the blue color of copper sulfate disappears and a powdery red mass of copper is deposited in the bottom of the beaker. The reaction can be represented as follows: copper sulfate CuSO4 plus zinc Zn gives zinc sulfate ZnSO4, which is colorless, and plus copper Cu. You can write down the reaction taking place in beaker B in the similar manner. So Paheli says, I have understood the reaction taking place in beaker A and B, but I am still confused about that there is no change in the beaker CDE. There could have been a displacement of zinc by copper in beaker C and by iron in beaker E. Similarly, iron could not displace the copper in beaker D. Since we do not see any change in the beaker C, we can infer that the copper is not able to replace zinc from zinc sulfate. But why? When zinc can replace copper in beaker A, why not copper replace zinc in beaker C? Remember that science is not arbitrary. It follows definite rules based on facts, and the rule here is that zinc is more reactive than copper and iron. A more reactive metal can replace a less reactive metal, but a less reactive one cannot replace a more reactive one. So you should remember that. Now you can understand why there is no change displacement reaction in beaker D and E also. Can you guess the sequence of metal from more reactive to less reactive among zinc, iron and copper? So 4.3 uses of metal and non-metal. You should be able to guess why metals are used in making machinery, automobiles, aeroplanes, trains, satellites, industrial gadgets, cooking utensils, water boilers, etc. You are also familiar with the use of some non-metals. Here are some interesting ones. We are sure that you will guess them right. So non-metal is essential for our life, which all living being inhales during breathing. Non-metals used in fertilizers to enhance the growth of plants. Non-metals used in water purification process. Non-metals used in the purple colored solution which is applied on wound as an antiseptic. Non-metals used in crackers. You may add some more uses of metals and non-metals from your experiences. So Paheli says, I have heard that magnesium is found in plant. In what form it is found in them? So Bojo says, the doctor reported iron deficiency in my body. Where is iron in my body? So in class 7, you have learned that in a chemical reaction, new substances are formed. So it is clear. These substances are different from those which underwent the reaction. Now, if a substance cannot be broken down further by chemical reactions, by cooling, heating or by electrolysis, it is called element. Sulfur is an element, so is iron. Carbon too is an element. The smallest unit of an element is atom. A sample of an element contains only one kind of atom. The atom of an element remains unaffected by physical changes in the element. For example, an atom of liquid sulfur would be exactly the same as the atom of the solid or vapor sulfur. Although we have an infinite variety of substances in the universe, the number of elements forming these substances is limited. There are no more than 94 natural occurring elements. An important classification of element is in the terms of metal and non-metals. Most of the elements are metals. The remaining are either non-metal or metalloids. Metalloids possesses characteristic of both metals and non-metals. So here the chapter is finished and we'll start the next chapter in the next class.